Hi everyone, it's Renee from Lovely Lavender Wishes. I hope you're having a blessed day today. This week I am still having fun with my boho tags. I'm still working on my boho journal. So I figured I would take you along and show you how I do a few of these. Now I already did a video on these the other day. So if you'd like to learn how to do these fabric tags, fabric boho tags, just look up my previous video. It shows you how to add chains and wax ephemera and other things to your tag. So I'm not going to show you those today because I already did a video on these. Oh, and for those who were wondering, this is what I ended up doing with the chain in the back. I tried to keep the chain showing. I really wanted it to show, but I couldn't figure out a way to keep this keep the chain sturdy in the back so this would hang in the front. Now, I saw somebody who posted on Facebook what they did instead of doing eyelets. I like the eyelet look, but what I think I'm going to do next time is instead of doing eyelets, they did brads. So they did 3 brads and just hooked the chain to the brads. Number 1, you don't have this to deal with in the back to how to hold the chain. Number 2, you also save, you use less chain. So now I know for the future, you know, you live and learn and you try new things. And I really wanted the chain to show in the back, but I just couldn't figure out a way to keep it without taping it down or something. I mean, I'm sure there's a way where I could have the chain showing in the back, but keep it taut so this would stay hanging in the front, because otherwise the chain kept pulling down in the back and pulling this straight in the front. So this is what I ended up doing, just putting a piece of fabric here. Next time I'll probably just do 3 brads and have the chain hanging like that. But you know, I love the fact that we can all learn from each other. So great idea. Thank you so much. So these 2 I show you how to do on a previous video. So if you want to learn how to do those, watch the previous video. So I'll put these to the side. These 2 are super easy, so I'm not even going to demonstrate these. I'm just going to show you what I did, and you can do it on your own. All this is paper and paper. So you just make a tag and, you know, cover the front, cover the back, and then decorate. I mean, that's all I did. I just I put some sari silk down here, trim here, and then a little lace trim here. Another piece of fabric that I cut off of a shirt from my 50-cent thrift store day. This came from, let me show you, came from the dollar store, 9 feet of diamond wrap from their floral garden. And this is what it is, and you can just cut, it comes 3 across, but I just would cut strips off of it like this, as you can see, and then just glue it on. So that's what this trim is. And then a little pom-pom trim here. And then for the top, I just put in an eyelet and had some different kinds of thread. So I had this one, this one. This was part of this trim. So I put some trim. And then this, let me grab, okay, this was from this type of yarn that I got. Again, I think I got this one from the dollar store as well. This is that yarn that everyone's been making those scarves out of. This like kind of, I call it the mesh yarn. I know that's not what it's called, but that's what I call it. And you have this really pretty edge on it with all the little sequins. So all I did, as you can see here, is I cut this part off, the mesh part off. So I just went down this part and just cut that off. So I was left with this really pretty trim part for here. And there you have it. So I just cut that, and you get this whole big skein of yarn for $1 at the dollar store. They have this color and purple and all different kinds. And some have the sequins, some have like silver throughout. I think like this one. Here's a purple one with the silver thread throughout, and it was the same kind of skein of yarn, which I cut off the mesh part and just kept this little edge part. So that's another little tip you can use for if you need some cheap little accessories. And it's pretty. It's got the sequins and it's got a little bling to it. So I love the color. So all I did was cut some strips of these out, feed them through the eyelet, and tie them. And then here's a little bulb pin with a bell. Gotta have that little jingling for my boho journal. So these are easy. These are just paper and trim, variety of trims and whatever fabric you have. So these are really easy to make. They're fun and they're just, I love the colors. I love the brightness. I've been trying to get some really bright colors in this journal. So that's those 2 tags. Don't need to demonstrate those for you. Now these tags are a little bit different. These, I'll show you the technique of how I made this background tag. And if you can see, you've got a lot of shimmer to it. I used, they're called, let me see here. They're called the PearlEx Powdered Pigments, and I'm going to show you how to use these. I love them, y'all. I think I like them better than the sprays because you get an incredible look from them. But you can't really see it as well on this because this is covering it, but there's a shimmer to it, and depending on what colors you're using. So we've got some gold and copper and some like a lavender purplish one in there that I'm going to show you how to use. So that's what I did for these backgrounds. So I'll show you how to do those as well as how to do the background on these tags. If you can see, it's raised up. So we use texture, what is it? Texture gel or matte gel medium and a stencil to get this raised look. And I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay. And then I'll show you how to decorate. So those are the 2 tags that we'll be working on today. And so you can come along and craft with me, and then I will take you step by step through that. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is get whatever size tag you want. These are a pretty big size. I wanted some bigger tags, but it doesn't matter the size of tag that you want. And then the next thing you wanna do, so you're gonna have your plain white tag, or it doesn't have to be white, it could be, you know, whatever paper you want to put it on. This is watercolor paper, y'all. I used a couple different papers, and I'm going to show you the difference in a little bit, but the one I'm using right now is watercolor paper, just a plain white watercolor paper. Here's my stencil, and all I did, I'm not going to do it now because it's super easy, but it takes forever to dry. So all I did was take my Liquitex Basic Acrylic. It's a matte gel medium. And I'm sure there's better products out there. This is just what I had, and y'all know I'm all about using what you have and adjusting and adapting to what you have, make it work for you. So this is what I had, and so I just squeeze. So I have my stencil on my paper, which however way I want it, and I squeeze a little bit on, and then I take. I just take like a little old. This is a Dave & Buster's old credit card. You take a card and just flatten it all out and make sure it's getting, you know, all over the paper, and, you know, keep your stencil straight and just make sure that it is getting all on the places that you need it to be. So you can like smear it out, you know, flatten it out, make it real nice. And then you're going to pull your stencil off. And when you pull your stencil off, if you can see here, when I pulled my stencil off, let's move that so we have the light. I don't know if you, let's see if you can see that. Can you see you can see the stencil part and the raised part on there, okay? So what you're gonna wanna do for this one, I tried using my heater and it does work, but it kind of dries a little weird if you try to force it to dry. So I found that for me, I've been having the best luck when I just set it aside and let it dry overnight. So, you know, I didn't have time to do this. You don't want to sit here and watch this dry the whole time. So I did this one yesterday. And so here's my stencil. Here's my matte medium on it. And it's all dry right now. And you want it to be completely dry. So I just let it sit overnight and I don't touch it, because if you touch it, it messes it up and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So just, you can do like a whole bunch of these and just, you know, swipe it on, put it to the side, swipe on your medium, you know, swipe it all on, take it off, put it to the side, do another one, and just let them all dry overnight. Kind of like, you know, how you do when you're tea dyeing or coffee dyeing your paper. If you just let it air dry, you're just going to let this air dry. So once it's completely dry, I'm going to move all this. Okay, then you're going to sit down. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit down, y'all, because I was watching in the camera here. And then I just got my Distress ink, and I only used about 3 of them that I really liked. And I have my little pad here, and you're gonna need water. And so you're just going to, I mean, you've seen people do this before. Put your ink on your pad or on your whatever, on your, you can even use wax paper or whatever. Get it wet, and then you're just gonna press your tag into the ink and then spray it with water and let it run. So if you can see, I'm just letting it run wherever it may go. And then if you can dab it up a little if you don't want it to, if you want it to stop in a certain area, or you don't want like huge clumps or whatever. And then I just kind of go in and do more in different areas and then spray it and let it run. And as you can see, it's running in between all those grooves of where your stencil was. Okay, and then I just kind of wipe that off and then go to my next color. And you can keep going in and getting it darker and darker as you go. I just do it a little bit at a time so I can figure out exactly like, the color scheme I want and where I want it to be flowing to, and how dark I want it to be in certain areas. Look how pretty that is. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I love just watching it flow and mesh into each other. Okay, I think that's where I want that to be. And just wipe it up. And then let's spray this little part. It's a little dark right there. There we go. There we go. And I'm gonna dry this a little before I put the next color on, because I don't want it all to like run into each other. Sorry, I know I'm off camera a little bit, but I need to, my cord does not reach all the way over here. Just a little. Oh, it's so pretty. And we'll get that drying. It's pretty. It's still a little wet, but we'll keep going. Okay, so then you get your next color. So the first color I used was Faded Jeans. Second color I used was Dusty Concord, and then I'm using a Fired Brick because I really want these bright colors. I want this, like I said, I wanted the different brighter colors throughout this journal for my boho theme. Oh wow, look at that. So pretty. So pretty. Put that up a little right there. Let's do a little right up there. I mean, Tim Holtz does this on his demonstrations, and he's just so good at what he does, y'all. I just so admire him. He's so creative, but he does some incredible work that I just love. Okay, let's put a little bit. I'm just striving to be like 1/10 of as creative as he is, but it's just fun to watch him. He just gets me so excited to keep creating new things and follow along and do other things. Okay, and now I'm going back and I'm thinking, okay, I want the blue, like the blue kind of got covered up, so I'm gonna do a little bit more blue on that. So you've all have seen this before. I mean, you've seen people do this before. Ooh, nice. Ooh, love it, love it, love it, love it. I want to try to keep that there. And I don't want it to get all muddy, so I'm trying to keep it in the spots. And we're going to be putting more things over it, so. Okay. Wait, it's up the dry one now. Okay, so let's dry this. At least get a lot of it dried up. And once you dry it, sometimes you'll find that it lightens up a little bit, and you might want to put some more color on and darken it up a little, or, you know, maybe tone some areas down, bring some areas up. But we're going to be adding other things on top of this, so I just really wanted just a background, just a base background. Okay. So I'm going to put this one to the side and let it continue to dry. So we'll leave that there. And while that's drying, I'm going to show you how I did the background. Let me see, where's my tag? So right now I'm showing you how I did the background on this tag with the raised stenciling in the background. Okay, so that's what we're working on right now. I'm also going to show you how I did these tags. Now these do not, they have stenciling on them, but they don't have the raised stenciling on them. So you're going to take my stencil again. Now this time I'm going to be using my dry inks. So I'm going to put my stencil on here. So here's another way you could do these tags. So I'm going to take the same 3 colors. I'm going to start with the blue. And I have my little, you know, blender. And let's see. I'm just going to start in this area, or you can start in any area, but I'm going to put blue in different areas of the tag. Kind of like, you know, what I did that way, but now I'm just doing it with the dry ink. Or the, you know, I'm not using water on it right now. So I'm just putting my color in. And try to hold your stencil. If you have those sticky stencils, that helps, you know, they'll stick and you don't have to hold it. But it really doesn't matter, because unless you want a super clear stencil look, which I don't on this, so I don't really mind if the stencil moves a little, because we're gonna, so what I do, I just wipe this off, and Tim Holt says you don't even have to, you know, you keep wiping until there's like no more ink on it, and then you can just go into another color. I know he keeps like all his blues together, all his purples together. I have a couple of these, but for this I'm just using the same one, and I've found I've never had a problem with it, you know, messing up the ink pads or the colors or anything. I know some people hate that. They don't want to do that. That's fine. Then don't do it. I do have the little pads and these little, you know, these with this other stopper. Whoops, I'm moving the camera, sorry. These that I can use with each different color, but it's just hard to keep taking them in and out and transfer, you know, taking the pad off and put a new one on and all that each time. So for this, I'm just doing it this way. Oh gosh, y'all, I love these colors, love it. Okay, so there's my purple. And then I'm gonna go to a little bit of red. I'm just gonna line this up again. Let's see, find the areas that maybe need a little bit more ink or a little bit more color. There, woo, that was a bright one. We'll fade that out a little. And do some up here. Okay, so, okay, clean that off. Okay, so you have your stencil. See how sharp and contrasty that is and bright? I don't want that. Let me wipe this off real quick so it's not. Wipe this off. Whoop. That way. So I don't want that. So what I did next was here, take my spray bottle, And I don't know if any of you have watched the Tim Holtz, what was it? He did a demo on why he uses this spray bottle. And y'all, I used a whole bunch of spray bottles. I'm not an affiliate with any of these people. I don't sell anything for anybody. I don't make any money on any of this. But I just tell you what I found works for me. And this spray bottle is the best one. I've tried a whole bunch of different kinds. And of course, everyone's got their opinions, and you might have one that works better for you. That's great. But for me, this one really works. Partly because if you hold it down flat and you spray, you get a mist. If you just barely hold it down, it'll start doing bigger drips. So if you want like the big, see, I don't know if you can see that, but if you want the bigger drip look, you just barely hold this down and it'll barely drip. If you want the spray, you just spray. And then the way that this curves in the bottle, when you're holding your bottle, it uses up every single ounce of liquid in here, which is great because a lot of times in other spray bottles, this little part will be like way back here. And look, if you tilt this over and if your tube is back here, you're not getting like the full spray, and it starts to spatter and sputter, and it's not good. So I found that this sprayer seems to be the best, and it fits perfectly in your hand and all that. So anyways, that's just my little plug for that, but pick whichever sprayer works for you. So you have this, and since I used the distressed ink, it reacts with water, and so I am going to spray my paper. And now look, you see how it's starting? I forgot, Tim Holtz calls it something. I say it just starts to spread, but he calls it something else, what the ink does. And now I want like bigger drips. So I'm gonna like just do some bigger drips here in all these areas, because I did not want my stencil to be so, crisp, I guess would be the word. I want it to be a little faded. Okay, so let's get my dryer and we'll dry this. So you're getting a little bit of the same kind of look, just not with the raised texture on your card. So if you don't have texture paint or matte gel medium or anything like that, you can still kind of get the same look and just not have the raised part. I mean, it's no biggie. Or if you have an embossing machine, you can emboss your paper and do the same thing, which I don't have an embossing machine. I'm thinking of getting one because I really like the look of that and I want to play with it. So I might get an embosser and do some embossed, run things through. So if y'all have any suggestions of which is the best one that you found that you like, let me know in the comments below, because I would love to try to narrow my decision down as to which machine I would like to get. Or, I've been kind of doing a little bit of research, but haven't gotten fully into it yet. I keep, hit or miss. Whenever I have time, I look at the embossing machines. So, okay, so now it's pretty dry. Might not be completely dry yet, but it's pretty dry. And that's all you really need it. You need it just, pretty dry. Okay, so the next thing, this is the fun part. This is what I really want to show y'all. Okay, I don't know if you've seen these before. I mean, they've been out for a while, but they're called PearlEx. They're powdered pigments, and they come in little jars. They come in bigger jars too. You can buy them, sorry, the light. You can buy them in bigger bottles as well. But this is their series 1. So let me grab the little card out. Okay, so this is the series 1, and in this series it's got like micro and macro pearl and russet, super copper, gold, silver, bronze, gold, violet, gold, red, blue. So they have varying degrees of gold and bronze. So I liked this one because I use a lot. I like to have a lot of the metallics. But they also have series 2, and they come in these colors. And then series 3 is down here, and they have these colors. So if you buy this set, and I don't know, I forgot how much these were. I think Michael sells them, Hobby Lobby, and if you use their coupon, you can get it for 40% off or whatever. But and they last forever, y'all. I have had these for years. Look, it doesn't even look like I barely even use the jars. I don't think I even opened some of these yet. And this is what I put it in. these little containers, so they last a really, really long time. So for these 2 tags, I am going to be using these 2. One is called Super Copper, and one is called the Duo Red Blue. It's kind of like a lavender purplish look. It's a shimmery, translucent, really cool look. So let me grab. Okay, so here's an example of these. So I did the background, and now I'm gonna put the shimmery stuff on top. And if you, let's see if we can catch the light. If you can see this, it is, you can see the purple right through here. That's this one, right here, this one. And it really catches the light. And I told you I like using these actually a lot more than the sprays, because I tried using the sprays on these and I just wasn't getting the effect. Can y'all see this copper? Like, look at this. The camera's not even picking it up as well as like in real life. It's so bright. But here's the copper. And it just totally stands out. And you get this incredible metallic sheen to it. I don't know if you can see this. So if you can see it in the light. Now, these are the 2 different papers that I use. This is watercolor paper. This was just regular white scrapbook paper. You can see the difference. I was thinking I would like the watercolor paper better, but I actually like this better because I get more of a molted look. I don't know if you can, like, it would soak into the gel medium and just give me this like really, I don't know, ethereal or otherworldly look. Like, it really gave me this faded look, which I really liked. Versus the watercolor paper, it gives you a brighter, like it holds the pigment more, I guess would be. It didn't like spread out as much. It gave me darker spots, which is cool too. Now you can see the difference too on the back. Look, watercolor paper, look at that. No bleed through at all. Look at the regular scrapbook paper. Incredible difference. But I loved this. I was like, oh man, I want to keep this background. But this is still a little too flimsy as a tag. I mean, it's durable, I guess, but it's not, as thick as watercolor paper. And so I was thinking, oh man, this would be a cool background, to have on the back of a tag. So I'm debating if I'm going to cover this up with, another layer of paper or leave it as is. Maybe once I get all the decoration on, it'll even firm this up even more. But that background I thought was so cool, and that was totally unexpected of what happened when I was done with this whole thing. But that's really, I think that's just so pretty. So that's another difference between watercolor paper and just regular scrapbook paper. You'll definitely get bleed through, and you can see the difference here. But I just really wanted to see if you can see it in the light, catch that sheen. You can see the purple right through here, and then the copper, okay? So that's the difference with there. So what you do with this, so you use, the directions on here say you use gum arabic with it. Now you can put it in a bunch of stuff. If you go on YouTube, they give you examples of all different ways that you can use these things. You can mix these pigments with your matte gel medium and change the color of this. You can use these with watercolor. You can use them with different paints. You can use them directly. You can use them with embossing, your embossing powder. Mix it in with your embossing powder. I mean, there's a lot of uses you can use this with. But my favorite is how I'm going to use it right now. So it's 1 part of the powder and 2 or 3. It's either 2 or 3 parts. I just eyeball it. I put a little bit in and some of this in. And this I've had for years too. This lasts a long time. And what gum arabic is, it increases the brilliance, gloss, and transparency of watercolors. And it controls the spread of wet on wet, okay? I used to use this a lot in art in college. We had to use this for a lot of things. But you can just get a bottle of that. And so I just, like I said, I put it in these little containers. And I take a brush, and the back end of my brush, I just put some powder in. I pour some of this in and just mix it, okay? So when it's sitting for a while, you're going to want to mix it. And you can, I don't know if you can see. So you can make this as dark as you want. The less powder you put in, the less intense it'll be. But I like this because I really want it intense. I really want it to show up. So I'm gonna do both these tags at the same time. So all I did, so I mix it up and get it, you know, all really good and mixed. And then I'm just gonna pick areas on my tag and just, you know, smear a bunch in different areas. Let's see this area. Ooh, this corner needs some. It's calling for some. It's calling for some. Okay. Whoop. And just smear it around or dab it on, whichever way you want. Y'all, I told you I do everything the easy, the quick way. But this stuff is so fun to play with. Okay. And then just, you know, clean your brush off. Okay, now you're gonna take your water. So this reacts with water. Put the top on so it doesn't spill because y'all know me, probably gonna spill it. Okay, and then you're gonna spray. So it works just like the other inks. And you probably wanna put it on and spray it right away if you can. But you can see how it's gonna start to run. Just like the other inks. And you're gonna get it through all the little crevices and what have you. And I wanna kind of keep it in general areas. Let's see, let's get this moving this way a little bit. And you can move it around so you can like have it shift from side to side, or if you want it to kind of start running down, you can do that. And then once you have it kind of where you want it to be, you're gonna, you know, lay it down so it kind of stops moving. Let's get this, okay. And then you're gonna dry it. I wish this would stretch a little bit more. Let me bring this over here. Okay, I got a really big dark spot there, so I'm gonna dab it a little bit. And that's the beauty of these two. It's so forgiving, these inks. You just dab up areas that, you know, you don't want as dark. Let me bring this over here. Shift that over. You could even move the ink where you want it to go. If it's still pooling, you can move it around, swish it around. But once these dry, you're gonna get a shimmer that's so cool looking. I don't know if you can kind of start seeing it already in the light. Now these will take a little bit longer to dry, probably because of the gum Arabic that's in it. I'm gonna dab that a little bit. It's a little dark. It's a little wet. Yeah, see, it's still a little wet. But it's getting there. So can you see, start to see the shimmer of the copper? The copper, this is the, what is this one called? The super copper. And I had it pretty intense in the jar. Okay, now the next one I'm gonna put on is this one, the Duo Red Blue. It's kind of like a purplish, you all know me, purplish lavender color. Gotta have that. But it's like this pearly, I don't know, like if you can see that, pearlescent purplish. So you're gonna get this really cool glow. Okay, so I'm gonna just start putting it on, if you can see that. So again, I'm just kind of smearing it in different areas. And then we're gonna put some there. I try to go around the copper. I don't want to put it right on top because it'll mix in. Let me do this one first. And then you just, so you spray it with the water and then start moving it around. If you can see that. And this is going to give it like that pearlescent look. Okay, we'll let that sit for a little. Let's do this one. I love this little, all these little water spots on the tag. I love that look. So you just kind of dab it on, swish it on. Let's put some down there. Okay. Cover this, y'all, because I just know myself. I'm gonna spray it and then just start moving it around. It'll start flowing. I don't know if you can see this. It's starting to flow. And it covers the color. And it's going to give it this, like this pearly look in different areas. Pearly look. I don't know. That's not even a word, y'all, I guess. I don't know. Okay, let me... Got this line through here. We're gonna eliminate that line a little bit. Instead, I'm gonna put some more copper in the middle there because I really want some copper look there. Whoop. Okay. There it goes. Cool. See, so we got rid of that line. Cool. Starting to look cool. Starting to look cool. Okay, so now you really want to dry these. And we might have to set these to the side in a little bit. And I'll show you what the next step is. Let's get these started and then I'll set them to the side and they can finish drying while we go on to the next thing. But like I said, this is going to take a little bit longer to dry, probably because of the gum arabic that's in it. Hope I'm saying that right. I think it's gum arabic. Gum arabic. Ooh, that's cool. Get that little kind of marbly effect right there. That's cool. Let me dab this real quick. But each tag is going to turn out different. Kind of the same, but different. You know what I mean? Because you never know where the water's going to take you. You never know where your ink's going to take you. But you can see the difference between, this is the raised with the gel matte medium. This is not. But you can still see the stencil. Remember how distinct it was at the very beginning? Remember how clear it was? You can still see the stencil on there, but now it's faded because I did the water and I kept adding things to it. And you've got some spots that are more distinct than others. Other spots that are more, cloudy and fadey, which I like, but you still see that there's a stencil. So it's all this layer upon layer upon layer. I know some people don't like that, or, you know, they're like, why do you make so many layers? Just do something and leave it. And a lot of times I do, but then sometimes I just keep adding more and more and more and more, and then I never even know what I started out with at the beginning, you know, by the time I'm done. So, okay, this is going to take a little while, so I'm going to set these to the side over here. But that is how you do these. Come on, stand up. Okay, so when it is dry, you are going to have, let me wipe this off. Okay, so when it is dry, you're going to have this look, whether it's watercolor paper or not. Now, these are both the raised ones. I'm sorry, I'm wiggling the... This was one that I did just like this. So this does not have the raised. So if you can see, it's all that's the look you're going to get. So I had the stencil. I sprayed it with water, so then you get these little watermarks, as you can see, right here and throughout. You see the little drips throughout, okay? And then once that's pretty dry, then you add the pigment powder to it. And then when that's all dry, what I added was my gold paste. And this is that paste that you put on your finger, and it dries almost instantly. So you put it on your finger and you smear it on. And as you can see, so I smeared it on some of the raised parts here, some of the gold. So here's the copper, and look how shiny that is. And gosh, the camera's not even picking it up as well, but it just pops out at you. So you got the copper. Here is that purplish pearlescent color that you can see. And then these are the gold accents that I put on with my paste along the sides, okay? So you can see when this is in the light, you can see the pearlescent part. There's copper throughout, and then here's some copper with some gold on top, and then I did the gold. And then once that's all done, so I did these two different ways. So you can do it the way I did it here, where you stencil. This one was stenciled first with the dry ink, and then I sprayed it with water. I let that dry, and then I put the powder on. I let that dry, and then I put the gold on. This one I did a little differently. This one, I put the pearlescent powder on first. So I smeared you can see the copper and the purplish in patches all over the tag. I let that dry. Then I came in with the stencil, and then I did the stencil on top. Now the stencil got very dark, so then what I ended up doing was wiping it with a paper towel, and it will wipe off, because I guess it kind of sits, the ink sits on top of the powder a little bit. So not all of it, but you're able to wipe it off a little and fade it out. So that's what I did there. So these were done almost the same way, just in different orders. And these are the different looks you're going to get. It's not very different. You can't, you know, here you can see the stencil underneath. Here you see the stencil on top, stencil looking on top. So whichever look you want, you can do it that way. And then I let that dry, and then I finally put the gold around. So on both of them, your last step, if you have it, is to put the gold accents around it, okay? So while those are drying, I'll show you the rest of how you do this. I'm not gonna step by step it. I'll just show you how to do it, because it's really easy. And you don't need step by step at that point. So once your tag is dry like this, you're gonna wanna decide if you wanna put a background on it. On these, I just put a backing paper. So you're gonna do that next. So put backing paper. You know, this one I'm debating. I really like this, but it's a little flimsy. So I'm probably gonna have to put some kind of backing on this. But I really love that look. So I don't know, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. So you're gonna put the backing on it next. Glue that on or sew it, but I glue and then I sew. So as you can see, I glued it on, I inked it up, and then I sewed it around the whole thing. So that's the first thing you do. So you're gonna have your tag, your back, and then sew it, if you wanna sew it. And you can do different stitches, like on this one, I did different stitches, you know, throughout. This one got covered a little bit, but I did different stitches, okay? Same with this one. So these were the two raised ones. These were the two non-raised ones. And the reason why I did, I put these on the non-raised ones because I had these pictures and I wasn't sure how they were gonna stick and stay stuck to the raised. So that's why I did that. So for these are the flat ones, and you can try it. I bet it'll work. I mean, if you have some really good glue, it should work. All I did, cut out some pictures, get some lace, and this was, let's see, just some lace, let's see, from a shirt that I cut up. And I love this color, and it had these, of course, the little bling, it had the little sequins on it, so I had to use it. So cut that up and put it on a backing. This is just scrapbook paper right here. So I glued the lace onto the scrapbook paper and glued the middle part of the picture onto the lace so it was all kind of lined up, and then I went to my sewing machine and sewed it on. And actually, you know what? Y'all, sorry, don't put the backing on yet. Oh wait, no, it's fine. Sorry. Oh, I gotta remember what I did. So I sewed this whole piece together. So I had the backing, the lace, and this piece, and I took just this piece to the sewing machine, sewed it on, and then I glued that to this, so you don't have sewing all the way through. That makes sense. So I sewed this to this piece and this scrapbook piece of paper, sewed that on, and then I glued the whole thing to the tag, okay? And then after that, you just decorate however you want. You can put a top. So this is just a piece of fabric that I sewed on with a zigzag stitch. This was a piece of fabric as well with the tassels already there. So I didn't even have to do those. So that's easy. Cut that out, glued it on, and I stitched it across the bottom just to make sure it would stay on. Stitched it across the bottom in here, and then glued a piece of trim, gold trim on. So once you get the tag, this tag part done, see, it's like it's coming, like it's still not dry. It takes a little while to dry. But once you get this done, then you just start decorating like you do with any other tag. Okay, so that's these two tags. And then for these two tags, same thing. So once this dries, and you can put your gold or whatever, you can put, you know, accent on here. You can even take some of this powder and really get it intense and just do like the powder around it. You can emboss this. You can do, you know, there's no limit to what you can do. Make sure my hands are clean. So these tags, pretty much the same thing. So let's see, I put the backing on first because it makes it easy. So put the backing on first, you know, trim it down, and then I sewed it. As you can see, I sewed it, and then you decorate. So once you got the backing on, if you want a backing, you don't have to, but if you want a backing, you sew it. And then all this was a piece of fabric, trim, some trim here, more fabric. This was some sari silk that I glued on, some lace trim, some sari silk, piece from, I think, a curtain or something I cut up, a really pretty piece. So I cut that out and put it on. And then I cut this out and I don't know if you can see, embossed it a little bit. So it's got embossing. So it's got like a clear coat over it with the backing. This is a little bulb pin. I had this from something. This was in one of my bead drawers, so this was already beaded for me, so I just stuck that on with a bulb pin. And then again, an eyelet up here. And like I told you how I did these with the yarn, I just cut this part off and this part off from my Dollar Tree yarn. And I had some thread, some different kind of cool threads, and just thread that through, did a loop, and there you go with that. And then this one, the same thing, eyelet with different kinds of thread, and the bulb pin. This was a butterfly and a word phrase that I embossed, so it's got a clear cover over the top, backing on it, And then I just laced up some extra beads I had and attached it to the pin. And there you go. So that's it. They look difficult, but it's really not. And you can have so much fun just fooling around with the backgrounds of these tags. As you can see, they're still drying. They still need a little drying. I usually let them sit for a couple hours, unless I'm sitting there with my blow dryer, not my hair dryer, but my air dryer, whatever this is, my embossing tool, and just sit here. But after a while, I'm just like, oh, I'll let it just air dry on its own. And I kind of like the look sometimes of it just air drying. Sometimes it gives it a more intense look if you just let it dry on its own, I've found. But I don't know if you can see that now. Starting to dry. You can see the purple right here. See that shimmer? It's like this pearlescent, but it still lets the color shine through. But you get, depending on the light, you get the different pearl, and then the copper is super bright. Like it's really not standing out here in the camera as much, but man, when you see it in person, it's this bright copper. It's just gorgeous. I love it. So that's one reason why I really like working with these. You can make them as really intense. And for me, these work better than the sprays. And when I get to paint it on, I find that I can control it better versus spraying. But I mean, it just depends. I mean, I have some sprays, but I don't really use my sprays as much for some reason. So I really like this that I can put on with my fingers so I can control where it's going. And I really like this where I can paint with a paintbrush and put it exactly where I want it. But that's just me, So, but if you've never used these before, this might be something that you might want to check into. They are a little bit pricey, but I will say they will last you a long time. Unless you're like just using them and using them and using them, or using them for big areas. If you're just using them for things like this, man, I've been using this copper for a while, and look, it's still full. It's like, because you just put a little bit in with a little bit of this, and it goes a long way. I mean, you saw, and I still have all this. I mean, I didn't even have it filled up. It was just, I just have maybe like a centimeter in here. So, it does last a long time. So, but anyways, I hope y'all, got some inspiration, and maybe this will get you thinking of something new that you can do. And I'd love to see your ideas, because you all have such great ideas, and it's been spurring me on. And there's so many projects I want to work on. I just can't get to them all. I'm still working on this, and I'm, in my boho theme right now, and I have to keep it going until it's finished. I already got ideas for other things I want to do, but I'm trying to stick with this right now. But I'm just having so much fun with these bright colors and doing something different other than like the whole vintage look. Even though this is a little bit vintagey, I really am enjoying these colors. So I hope you all do too. But anyways, have a very blessed day. I will see you all next time. I have no idea what we'll be doing. We'll see where creativity leads us. But until then, y'all, be blessed. Keep being creative, and keep showing me your ideas, because I just love it. So thank you all so much. I will see you next time. Bye.